Hey everybody, it's John from Cycle and Dredge. It seems like I'm in the video making mood today, and I've been meaning to make a video for a little while about what Leng's library is and why I decided to make it. So I'm going to do a quick little impromptu video with no script or anything fancy here to at least explain what it is, and hopefully you guys might be interested in using it. So originally, when we started the Cycle and Dredge podcast, I decided, well, let me rewind here. So since I started playing Magic, I wanted to make a app to track my library and my decks and things like that. I tried a lot of the other apps out there, and though they are really good and I have nothing bad to say about any of them, they didn't quite work the way I wanted to. So I've been kind of tossing this idea around for a little while, and when we started the Cycle and Dredge podcast, it prompted me to finally start working on this. So we have Leng's library now. For anybody that may not know, Leng's library is named after an older Magic card called the Library of Leng, and we'll use that as an example here to show what we can do with Leng's library. But for right now, let's take a look at a quick overview of what Leng's library is and how to use it. So Leng's library is a deck building app and a library management app, and it works a little bit differently than the way other apps do. So when you first log in, you can use portions of Leng's library without needing an account, but for the majority of it, you'll have to create an account. And accounts are free. Leng's library is completely used for free, except for scanning cards with your camera on your cell phone after the first 1,000 images. We give out the first 1,000 images for free, but since there's an inherent cost behind it, we have to charge after that, unfortunately. But anyway, let's go start digging in here and take a look. So this is the main dashboard of Leng's library here. First, we're going to see a random card of the day. The random card every time you load this page. It's just going to show what the card is, have a little bit more information about it, things like that. You can also add it to your library if you want to as well, or to a deck. This is most useful here, and you'll see later on, like if you see a card that comes up here and it's like, ooh, this would be perfect for that deck, you can go ahead and add it. In this case, we'll add it to our test deck here. Add it to your test deck. And cards that you don't have will show up in red here and say not owned. So when you go to your deck, you'll see that it's not owned and you need to order it. Likewise, you can also see the current value of your library and how many cards you have in your library. The main functions of Leng's library are in the library and deck building page though. So let's click on that. And when you go to that, I have a lot of cards already in Leng's library from using it and building it, but this is on the main page. This is where you're going to see all of your cards in your library. So this is everything that's in your collection, and you can go through page by page and see what you have. You can add tags to cards. For example, you can add it for sale, for trade. I'd make my own tag so I can search for things like pump spells, card draw spells, recursion spells, things like that. That's the way I choose to do it. You can do it however you want to, of course. And then you can add this card, like add another copy of it to your library, or choose to add it to a deck or things like that. When you click on any of the information for the cards, you're going to find some interesting and useful things here, like a quick link to view on EDHREC, so that way you can look at their data, a quick link to buy on TCG Player, the flavor text, the current prices, the legalities, the rulings, most of the Oracle text here, including a quick rundown of what the card actually is, the basics of the card. So that's that. This is your library. Now, of course, you need to add cards to your library. So if you go click on the menu button over here, you can go to Library Tools, and then you can add a new card. And it's straightforward. You can type in the card name here. In this case, let's do Murder. I'm not going to actually add it, since I already have it in my library. I don't want to mess it up. We can type in Murder, choose Murder. Sometimes there's a little quirk where it doesn't pull up the database, or pull up the set properly. If it happens, just choose the name again and it'll come up with it. And then I'll choose the set. You can choose which set it belongs to if you want to. Some people care, some people don't. You can also add whether or not it's a foil card. It defaults the quantity to 1, so you don't have to put in a quantity there, but say you have 5 cards to add, you can change that to 5. Now when you add the card, and I'm not going to click it here, it's going to go ahead and add it to your library and then set the cursor back to the card name. So if you want to add cards quickly, you can type in the name of the card, change the set if you want to, click the enter button to add the card, and then go right back to typing the card. It's a pretty quick and easy way to add cards manually to your library. Now, another useful thing here, as you saw, we can add tags and everything to organize your library how you want. And you'll see how this is useful in a minute, but you'll do the same thing. You'll go back to the library tools in the menu button, click add new tag, and then do whatever tag you want. Likewise here, if you click on the X button, you can delete a tag and that'll remove it from your cards as well. So interestingly, after you have cards added into your library, you have some tags set up, you have your cards set up for tags. If you want to search for specific cards, you can go to your library filter button here, and these are all the sets that I have. It's only going to show sets in the library here for sets of cards that you have, but if you want to see all the Core 19 cards you have, click the button and then click apply filters. Likewise, if you want to see all the white cards from Core 19, you can check both of those boxes and then click apply filters again. And likewise, I have been slowly tagging cards for card draw, flicker, things like that. You can choose the tags if you want to for that, and you can do all this multiple ways. Likewise, if you want to search for a specific card in your library, we'll do murder here. You can leave everything unchecked, type in the name of the card, and it's going to search your library for anything with murder in the card. And this is useful too, because if you go to library filter, say you want to do Drake, so you can see all the Drakes you have in your library. You can type in Drake, it'll find all that. It'll do a base. When you do a search for library filters, it's going to do a base off of the card name, the card and creature type, and the text. So it's going to search all those things and pull them. Likewise, if you're smart about how you search things on here, you can also do things like keyword text, like draw a card. So you can find all the cards that say draw a card in the text, and it'll pull up all those too. And this is useful, like if you want to find, say you want to add a card to a commander deck or something to that effect, and you need a card draw thing. You can search for key phrases to see all the cards that you have that would fit in that slot, so you can find something. And you can sort it by color too. So if I wanted to see all the blue cards, where we go, blue for draw a card, we can do that. And it'll pull up any cards with a blue color identity in it, including any cards with like blue and green color identity and whatnot, but that have draw a card in their text. So there's that, and that's a pretty useful feature. So one of the more interesting features is the deck tools. So I already have a bunch of decks here, but traditionally you would start off with creating a new deck, and it's going to list the decks you currently already have, and you can name it whatever you want. I'm not going to do that at the moment, but in this case I'm going to go and select a deck. I always like to use my Galta deck as an example, just because I really like Galta. It's not a super powerful deck or anything. In fact, it's not powerful at all, but it's just fun for me to play. So I'm going to choose Galta, and when we choose the deck, it's going to pull up all the cards and switch over to the deck view. Now you can go back, click on the View Library button, go back to your library if you want to search for cards, and then go back, click on View Deck again, and it's going to show all of your deck cards. And just the same way, you can go cycle through the cards. You can click on a picture if you want to see all the card text easier, and then you can click either the plus or minus buttons to add or remove copies of those cards. If you want to see just a flat out list of the cards, if you click on the Deck Tools button and then click on Deck Lists, it's going to show you an organized list of all the different cards broken down by type. So you can get a full deck list of that, organized list of that too. Now likewise, you can also go to Deck Info, and this is something I like. It'll give you basic information about the deck. You can go to Total Cards, see how many cards you currently have in your deck and how many cards are marked for removal, and we'll go over that a little bit more in a second. You can see what the estimated amount of mana ram cards you have, the estimated removal spells, estimated card draw spells you have in there. It's going to show you your mana curve. It's going to show you how many cards of each type you have, and then listed here by numbers too. It's going to give you a nice color pie of your devotion. Now in this case, Galta is not the best example of this, so let's choose a different deck. We're going to choose my Dragons deck, and then go back to Deck Info. This is a better example. It's going to show you the pie chart for the different colors, or your color devotion. And then we're going to show color devotion recommended land ratio. Color devotion is a little bit different and weird. So instead of showing the amount of cards with color identity, in this case, it's actually counting the total pips of that color identity and doing it that way. And we found that this is a better way because, say you have 20 cards that only have one red mana pip, but you have 15 cards that all have 2 white mana pips, you're going to want to lean a little bit heavier on the white lands for that, for building your mana base for your deck, because it's going to be harder to draw more white cards. So we do that based off of the add the amount of color pips in that deck to recommend a land base ratio. And this is, again, a general guidelines. At some point we'll do a better way to recommend the exact amount of lands, but recommending specific lands can get difficult because of the dual color lands and things like that to do on an automatic basis. So instead we do, for the moment, the recommended land color ratio, so that way you can add that in as appropriate, or add it in as it's appropriate based on what you have available for mana in your mana library. Now let's switch over to my test deck here for the moment. The test deck is what I use for any random things here. You'll notice that when you look at the cards in your library, they all have an X button here. And in this case, I added this from the front page. From the start of the video, it's showing it as not owned, and it's showing it as a new card. So this is a good opportunity to show this. I want to remove this card from the deck, so I'm going to click the X button here, and it's going to mark it as removal. And let's say we also want to get rid of Acolyte of Affliction. How this is useful is you can mark cards for removal. So if you want to make changes to your paper deck, you can mark the cards for removal, go make the changes to your paper deck, and then come back and finalize the deck. And then those cards are removed and the deck is updated to what you currently have built in paper. And likewise, let's go back to View Library here. If we add a new card, we're still in card draw and everything from what we tested or searched for earlier, we can click on Tests, add that card to my test deck. We're going to go back, view the deck, and then you'll see that Curiosity is listed as a new card. So at the moment the deck isn't finalized, that's listed as new. I know I have to go update my paper deck, add that card into the deck, and then after I've added it, I can go back and finalize the deck and finish it. So there's a lot of other features here too. I can't really show the camera scanning view at the moment, but it is possible to scan your cards through the camera. You can scan multiple cards at the same time too, as long as the title is visible. I can't show that, unfortunately, because I don't have a camera on this computer at the moment. So yeah, there is that. Anything you add will be added into your library through that. So that's a fun and cool thing. You can also do a global search for any cards, and that works the same way as the library filter. So if you want to do a card for anything with murder, you can search through all of Magic Card's history for anything with murder in the title. And it does the same thing where it searches by the card title name, the keyword name, or the keyword's name, the keyword text, and what kind of card it is and the type of card. So be creative with your searching solutions. You can, if you're careful about your searching terms, you can narrow down pretty heavily on the kinds of cards that you can find. One of the other neat things here too, you may have noticed earlier when I did the View Library, let's go back to tags here. There's 2 tags that always show up, for trade and for sale. Now, let's say I want to mark this card as for trade. So that card is now marked for trade, and you'll look and see that for trade and for sale show up in your library cards, so you can sort through them easily as you're looking at the card view in your library. But say I have a friend that I want to see what cards they have available. We can go to search trades by user. In this case, my name is John. We're going to search for myself for that. And you can see that all the cards I have for trade this is the only one I have for trade at the moment. And this is publicly viewable too. So if someone knows your username, and it is case sensitive, they can go into Leng's library, type in your username, and see all the cards that you have in your library currently listed for trade. And likewise, you can do the same thing for sale cards too. So let's remove these filters here for a quick second. Gonna get rid of that. Oops, I don't want Grammarly. Get rid of the search name, go back to just my cards. Let's say I want to sell Abrupt Decay. I can add that card to for sale. Now I can go and search. We're going to search for my name again. Click the for sale button. Now these are all the cards I'm willing to sell, or put it up for sale. And you can mark a card for trade or for sale too, so it'll show up in either list. But yeah, that's a very quick and dirty rundown of Leng's library for the moment. I hope you guys find it useful. It is free to use, so go ahead and give it a try. And yeah, go ahead and listen to the Cycle and Dredge podcast too. We put out a new episode every week. But if you guys have any questions, give us a shout. If you go to the main webpage for Leng's Library, scroll down to the bottom, there is a contact us form here where you can send it, and that'll send me an email directly. You can also go to our Discord channel too, and the Discord channel you can speak with us directly. We're typically available anytime, so but I mean, either way, we'll always get back to you. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, give us a shout. Take it easy, guys.